There's a huge missing piece in our conventional and even our natural and functional methodologies when we're talking about chronic illness, especially if we've got something like autoimmune or a high viral load, or we've had symptoms for a long time. So if you found this video, it's because what I've said has resonated with you and you have an interest in learning more about how this could maybe apply to what you're going through. So I'm going to explain a little bit about what this missing piece is so that you have details right from the get-go and you can determine if it further resonates with you and that this is a truth for you and provides some hope. Then I'll give you some next steps at the end of this video. So the purpose of this video is to explain this missing piece that we are missing when we try to break apart the pieces of the body and the pieces of the symptomology. And it comes down to what you may have already heard me talk about, which is neurogenesiology. So I'm going to kind of start at the beginning. I'm going to explain a little bit more. You can speed up this video if you'd like to. This is where I want to make sure everybody is hearing the same thing, that everybody is getting the details necessary to really understand if neurogenesiology makes sense for you and where you're at in life. So if you have found this, you have been dealing with chronic symptoms, you've been dealing with chronic illness, or you have an interest in what I've been talking about with neurogenesiology. So neurogenesiology is the theory where the symptoms or the illness is created in the immune system. In the nervous system. And it affects the immune system and the metabolic systems. Everything that is happening in the nervous system guides the immune and metabolic systems. Everything that happens in the cells comes from what the nervous system has directed, the verdict that the nervous system has reached. So when a person is dealing with a chronic illness, a chronic disease, chronic symptoms, chronic is very different from acute. I'm very grateful that we have acute providers. If somebody were to have an accident and they needed acute help for an injury, that is not me. I am glad that we have those providers for that. But where we are, what we're doing with chronic illness has to be very, very different from that. So chronic, we get told about the chronic illness by our body from our chronic symptoms. That's a good messenger for us. However, symptoms are a very poor marker of our progress then. Cells are what is the marker of our progress. So we have to look at chronic very differently than we look at acute. So chronic illness is going to be determined by what messages the cells are receiving. Where do the messages come from for the cells? Well, the biggest part that we're going to talk about is in the nervous system. Your basic functioning is to stay alive. So no matter what else is happening in the body, the thing that we cannot deny is that the basic functioning is to stay alive. And that's what your nervous system is there for. So it is answering a very primal question all the time. Every minute, every second, it is scanning to know if there are any threats or potential dangers or risks for your liveliness, for your livelihood, for your safety. So that verdict, yes, I'm safe, no, I'm not safe, is going to distribute a predetermined cascade of chemical messengers, hormones and neurotransmitters that tell the cells what to do. The cells of the immune system, the cells of the metabolic systems, and they're going to now play that out. So the cells are going to carry out the program that is delivered from these chemical messengers. So if the primal question is, am I safe? If your answer is yes, I am safe, that predetermined biochemical load is things like melatonin and serotonin, dopamine and oxytocin. There's a whole list of them, but those are kind of the common ones that you might have heard before. And those are regulatory. Those are management chemicals. Those are chemicals that keep a healthy body at homeostasis. Those are the chemicals that we should be operating off of. And then we don't have to think of things like sleep and digestion and happiness and mood, because those chemicals are getting the proper message for what cues our nervous system is picking up on. Now, if the cues that the nervous system is picking up on are giving them message that, no, I am not safe, we're running an entirely different cascade of chemical messengers. And it has to come back to this. The nervous system will now dictate to the cells based on this chemical messaging system. So if you are not safe, the body now shifts its priorities. All of its energy goes towards keeping you alive. It now goes towards keeping you surviving, not thriving, not recovering, not healing, but just getting through it. So it's going to operate some pretty intense and aggressive chemistry. Now we are fueling off of those chemicals instead of the ones that take less energy. They're the ones that are more efficient, that use our mitochondrial energy more efficiently in the battery packs of our cells. So if that chemical load has been determined by the nervous system, I am not safe. I am now, without you even thinking about it, you don't get to have a say in this. Your nervous system will automatically automate all of these chemicals down into the body so that it can prepare for your potential survival. The cells now will carry that out indefinitely. Now, every expression that you are facing in your cells right now, every expression of symptoms and these chemical messengers, the cells are a program and they will duplicate themselves based on that program. So what mommy and daddy cell are going through now is creating baby cells with the exact same program in its exact likeness and image, unless it gets new information. Now, if new information comes in, that generation of cells looks better. Not enough to change symptoms, which is why symptoms are a poor marker for our progress at this point. So the cells have to put in new information, and then the next generation of cells looks better. New information, next generation of cells looks better and better and better and better. And it's a while before the symptoms actually, before that cellular change is enough, or the symptoms now can actually start receding because the tissue itself has changed. So sometimes people are doing the right things, they just don't do them long enough. Sometimes it's a hierarchy problem. So sometimes it's that they may be doing the right things, but they need to layer it with other things because it's not matching the systems of the body, or it's not matching what the priority of the body is. So there's multiple things that are not typically addressed when we're working, even in new functional medicine, even in new naturopathic medicine. There are things that we are not that we are not taking a look at, and biochemistry has to start being a priority. Now, the languages of the nervous system are many. I kind of narrowed them down to 5. But the languages that give the nervous system cues on answering that question, if you're safe or not, is your external environment. It's going to constantly scan your environment and, what's happening outside the window. Are there potential threats there? It's going to scan your internal environment, so it's paying attention to what your muscles are doing, how tight your ligaments are, how tight your fascia is, if your jaw is clenched, if you're breathing not deeply. It's going to be picking up all of these cues given from what your body is telling it. Things like posture and breath. Another language that speaks to the nervous system and provides cues for the nervous system to make its determination is your thoughts and your emotions. So if we're thinking stressful things or we're ruminating on something, that is a clue to the nervous system that tells us we're in survival mode. There's something that we're thinking on. That is a cue to the nervous system. Your emotions, same thing. If you're stressed and you're crying and you're feeling fearful, those are going to be cues to the nervous system that say, I'm in survival mode. All of these things added together are what is going to help the nervous system determine its verdict. And once the verdict is made, you don't have much say in it whatsoever. Now, I often say that the memories are the magic. And that's because not only does this biochemistry happen in the now, but your nervous system, in preparation for any potential threat or response, is going to remember everything that you've ever been through in case you have to go through it again. And it has to replay the program that got you through it the first time. So whether it's a physical and viral, illness, or a tragedy or a trauma, or an emotional or a stressor, the nervous system is going to remember everything you've ever been through. So there are programs then that get run if an appearance comes up similar to something that the nervous system has already been through before. So that is your history is another language that sends cues to the nervous system to determine that verdict. Our job then, once we see that verdict, is we have to support the cells. We kind of mimic the cells. The cells' main two jobs that we have access to is nutrients in and waste out. So we can help determine, once we see what that biochemistry is, how do we help the cells to do those two things? And now the cells are getting nourished and we're actually able to see change in the physical being. So this is where this is a quick summary. This is definitely where we have to start. This is the missing piece. It is the cause and the correction. The nervous system is the cause and the correction. I know everybody says, health is in the gut, and it really is, but where does the gut get its messaging? So we have to move beyond that. We have to move beyond the fight or flight and survival mode that everybody's talking about now and go a little bit deeper into biochemistry and into neurogenesiology, the memories that are stored in the nervous system, which that goes beyond just where we're currently at. It goes beyond typical counseling techniques. It goes beyond typical conventional therapies. So we have to include the holism, and it starts with the nervous system, the cause and the correction all at once. So what we do differently is we work with cell studies, and we work with the history and the neurogenesiology. I work to study what's happening in the cells and the biochemistry that the body is working with. And if we try to do that ahead of time or out of hierarchy, you're just going to be band-aiding things, and they're just going to come back when the next stressor comes. So when we're looking at this, I would say this is even beyond root cause. And so we work with cells, we do cellular bioenergetics, we do nutrient analysis, we get all of this documentation to understand the biochemistry and the expression of the body and what your body is trying to do for you. And then we go through a series of modalities and modules and education and application and accountability to help you practice and retrain the biochemistry of the nervous system. And learn how to use the nervous system's two sides in a way that actually helps and supports where your body's at. So it's when you're working with me, it definitely is not a quick fix. We're gonna slap you with a supplement. Our program is 6 months long. I know it sounds like a lot, but when you're working through it, it goes very quickly. I've worked very hard to make sure that it is accessible and easy to do, even alongside a busy life. All of the modules that I have put into my program are because I've tried multiple modalities. I've worked with over 5,000 clients. I have case reviews for each of those clients, and I was able to try modalities and then select what were the most effective strategies that worked for the highest number of people. That is what made my program. I also learned that as I was delivering these pieces, these bits and pieces, there was a hierarchy that was happening automatically. So if I would work on teaching A, B, and C, automatically the body would start doing D, E, and F on its own. I didn't have to push it. I didn't have to drive it. I didn't have to give it spendy supplements and therapies that cost time and money. The body would naturally do what it knew how to do once it was provided with the right foundation. So not only are the modules in my program very specific, but they are in an order that works with the hierarchy of the body. See, here's the thing. If we do not have the nervous system on board, and if we don't understand what the body's trying to do, and we don't have the body on board, essentially when we're just band-aiding what the body is, a symptom is, the body stops trusting us. It's telling us messages through its symptoms. And if we are just trying to cover those up and band-aid them, over time the body doesn't trust us, and we are not on board with what the body is trying to do for us. So we need to have those two pieces on board with and in alignment to what our goals are, what we're trying to do. So in my program, when we work with you, I work to understand your history, your story, where your body's at, where you're trying to go, and then I back that up and understand clinically what are our clinical objectives to get there, and we educate you in the proper hierarchy and study of neurogenesiology and biochemistry to plan a protocol that now you can walk through and learn through and watch your body perform better and better with our help and support. So I'm the next steps for you really would be, I'm going to provide a link so that you can go on and click to join. Once you get started and you join in on the program, that sends a sequence so that we can have an initial consultation and we can get started. You can also go to amandawetland.com, look out more information. There will be the link for the program there as well. So I appreciate you being a follower, being a fan, being an interested party that just wanted to learn more. Thank you for watching this video on the missing piece. I know that it resonates with people because it spreads like wildfire. So I hope that if you have been in that position and you don't know where to turn next, I hope that you have a feeling of hope as you are leaving this video. So I look forward to our next steps together. Keep listening, keep watching. We'll see you soon.